Recently, Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed a bill prohibiting doctors from performing abortions after a fetal heartbeat is detected. And as the immigration crisis along the border continues to worsen, what should the Biden administration be doing in response? To discuss all of this and more, I recently talked with Lieutenant Governor of Texas, Dan Patrick. Take a look. Dan, thanks for being here. I want to begin with this heartbeat bill. It was signed into law by Governor Abbott during a press briefing. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki reacted this way.
This is the most restrictive measure yet in the nation, and the most restrictive recent assault on women's fundamental rights under Roe v. Wade. Certainly the president supports and believes we should codify Roe v. Wade, and that is his view, regardless of these backward-looking steps that are being taken by states in the country.
Your reaction, Dan, is this a backward-looking step?
You know, I'm always amazed at the left who likes to parade their view that it's okay to kill babies in the womb. You know, if you want to be for choice and make your argument, I still don't agree, would never accept it, but they make their argument as if somehow those of us who believe in life are doing something bad, backward steps, saving a baby's life, an innocent baby's life. You know, Raymond, we're, I think, the most pro-life state in the country. I've been a leader on that issue when I was in the Senate before becoming lieutenant governor. I passed the sonogram bill that requires a sonogram of anyone getting an abortion, and we've saved about 20,000 babies a year for the last 10 years. That's a lot of lives we've saved. And so we've been on this issue a long time. What makes this bill unique, Raymond, different from anywhere else in the country, there have been a lot of heartbeat bills passed. It always gets stopped in the courts and really don't get into action. This is not a criminal bill. This is a civil case. So anyone in Texas, anyone can sue a doctor performing an abortion. Anyone in the state of Texas, and to protect that heartbeat of that baby at the 6th week. So what we want to do is look at the civil side, quite frankly, on this bill, and we believe it is unique. We believe it will survive all court challenges, and we believe it will save even more babies and put more abortion doctors out of business. I have no apologies to anyone. I'm not ashamed to say I want Roe v. Wade overturned. I want abortions to end. End of story. We need to protect innocent life in the womb.
As you know, the Supreme Court agreed to hear that Mississippi case, which touches on abortion. It could dramatically narrow abortion rights by allowing states to make it illegal to get an abortion after 15 weeks of pregnancy. Now, earlier this week, or last week rather, Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal had this to say. He says it will inevitably fuel and drive an effort to expand the Supreme Court if this activist majority betrays fundamental constitutional principles. Chipping away at Roe v. Wade will precipitate a seismic movement to reform the court. He suggested, Dan, that could include expanding the Supreme Court or making changes to its jurisdiction. Your thoughts on the Democrats' vision here and what they're proposing if the outcomes don't come from the high court in the way they'd like?
Yeah, well, of course, look, we have to face this. There's an anti-God group in this country, and I'm not suggesting that all Democrats are anti-God, but many in their party are pushing back on life. And we know the Bible says born in the image of God, and they want to take over this country. They've removed God out of the schools, out of the public square, which we continue to fight back in Texas, by the way. But they want God on the sideline. Once you get God on the sideline, then who are you born in the image of? And so that's the long-term socialist, leftist, progressive, communist view of the Democratic Party. Let me tell you something very interesting, Raymond. A week ago or so, we executed a person who had killed his aunt with a baseball bat, beat her so hard that the bat broke for $30. And I had calls at the time in my office that they wanted to spare the life of that person. And I thought, these are the same people who don't want to spare the life of a baby in the womb. That man was found guilty by a jury of his peers. No question of the question that he was the person who did it. And they're trying to save his life. He's a criminal. The baby in the womb is innocent. I don't understand how the left says spare those from execution who have killed others, found guilty by a jury. But it's okay to take the life of those who have not done anything. Because I get that question a lot, Raymond. Well, Dan Patrick, you're for the death penalty, but you're pro-life. Yes, innocence, guilt. And they said, well, he's given his life to Christ. I said, great. I started one of the largest seminaries, I think, actually in the world. And we have 200 people in our prison seminary getting 4-year degrees to become pastors in the seminary, serving 20 years to life. But being forgiven by Christ for your sins doesn't mean that changes the laws of what different states have for crimes that are committed. So I'm glad that he accepted Christ before he died. But that was the law. But it was amazing to me the outrage we would get on the phone calls to our office that you should spare this man. The same people outraged over Senate Bill 8, the heartbeat bill.
Another bill in Texas, Dan, would require student athletes to play on sports teams based on their biological sex instead of gender identity. Now, the bill missed a deadline in the House. There are now calls for you to convene a special session to consider that bill. Will you request one?
Well, actually, Raymond, just a little correction there. We passed the bill. The Senate passed it out to the House. It sat there for 6 weeks. Barely got out. It was purposely, in my view, killed at the deadline by leadership in the House. And actually, I'm the one who's called on the governor to call a special session. The governor calls special sessions, not the lieutenant governor. I am the president of the Senate, and we pass bills, and we have control of the Senate, but only he can call.
So you have requested it.
Greg Abbott, I've asked him to call a special session because this is a big issue. This is women's rights. This is young girls' rights. I don't want some boy playing soccer, running over some girl and breaking her leg. I don't want some boy joining the golf team and taking away a scholarship, or the basketball team. This is not about being targeted. There was an article today. Dan Patrick wants to target transgenders. Not at all. We don't want to target women. We don't want to take away scholarships and opportunities for young girls. This is simple. Look, America is with us on this issue. Republicans, it's like close to 90%. Democrats, it's almost 50%. Independents in the mid high 60s. This is an issue that all Americans say, you know what? We can have an issue on gay and transgender. We can have an opinion. People can have their own opinion. But on this one, even those who fight conservatives on the other issues, they come out and say, no, this is not right. No boy should play a girl sport. I had a couple of women that came to see me on this bill, and they were weightlifters, and they had the records, and they said, men can lift 150 to 100 more pounds than we can lift, and all of our records will be gone because there will be one guy who will we can't compete. Women can't keep up in a track meet at the same speed. They can't hit a golf ball as far. They can't make a 3-pointer from as far. It's just not right. And everybody knows it's not right. So this isn't anti-anything. It's pro-women, pro-girls, and everyone watching needs to tell their school boards to not allow this to happen. Stand up for young girls. Stand up for your daughters, your granddaughters. Stand up for them so their rights are protected.
Dan, I want to move on to the topic of immigration before we run out of time. Fox obtained video of at least 40 men crossing into the U.S. along the border in La Jolla, Texas. They're chased by Border Patrol agents. And then in the Del Rio sector, agents arrested 10 convicted sex offenders trying to enter the country. What do you make of the Biden administration's response to this crisis? And what kind of burden is this placing on the state of Texas?
Well, a tremendous burden. I just talked to the mayor of Uvalde, Texas, which is a small town and not too large of a town, and they're being overrun. They've asked for help, and we're sending them the cavalry to help them. Everywhere you look, Raymond, this is the worst the border's ever been in, ever. We're totally being invaded, overrun from people from all over the world, whether it's the Mideast, whether it's Venezuela, whether it's Central America, not as many Mexicans coming over. It's more Central America and other countries. And I look at it this way, Raymond. Not only Trump had the border under control. We actually had the border under control. And I believe Biden, this is the short and long-term plan. They want to get we're going to apprehend 1 million people maybe this year across the border, and another 3 million that we don't catch. That's 3 million people. Do that the next 3 years is 9-10 million people. Anyone over 18, they'll register to vote. And they want those votes in 2024 to keep their leftist power. This is what this is about. And what is inhumane about this, not only is it harmful to Texas and the country, obviously, but these people. I'm going to text you a picture, Raymond. It just broke my heart yesterday. One of our women state troopers carrying this tiny baby yesterday. It just broke my heart to see this. When women and children come here, they often get put into sex trafficking. When men get here, young men, they're indentured servants. When the cartels send them here, they don't have all the money to pay them. So they say, when you go and work in the United States, we want 20, 30% of your pay. And that 30% of their pay goes back, gets money laundered, goes back to the cartels. So the Biden administration is creating a whole new class of slavery. When we're trying to look back and erase the racial divide in this country over that issue, which was terrible, 170 some years ago, 150 years ago. Today, these people, they are putting these people into slavery because they're having to pay their wages back. Because if they don't send the money back, the drug cartels tell them they will hurt their families or kill their families. And the Biden administration is watching children, women, young women go into cantinas, go into prostitution, massage parlors, all of those things, doing nothing about it, and young men and older men being indentured service. This is a crime against humanity for those who are coming here. We need legal immigration reform. People need to come here with dignity, not live in the shadows. We love our immigrants, but not this way. But this is the worst. I mean, throwing children in the river over the wall. I mean, and Kamala Harris, who's supposed to be in charge, Raymond, she hasn't done a press conference in 2 months or whatever it is. She's never said a word. She's never been to the border. Biden is sleeping on the job. Everyone says, is this an accident or a plan? It's a design plan. If they don't know what's happening, then their staffs ought to be fired. Their head of border security ought to be fired. Homeland Security ought to be fired. They know what's happening. They know.
Yeah.
And they're turning a blind eye to this misery, tragedy.
Yeah. The human and financial cost of this is just unbelievable. I was stunned to learn that Texas alone is expected to exceed $1 billion just to try to secure the border that, frankly, the Fed should be helping you with. Dan, I know you're running out of time. We'll leave it there, but let's catch up in the days ahead. I thank you for being here.
Thank you, Raymond. Thank you.